I don't know if your family did this or not, but they were um, asking before Thanksgiving was over, right? I mean, like, we got up, Thanksgiving, we haven't had turkey yet, and my family said, can we please go and pull the tree out of the shed and decorate the tree? And I said, absolutely not. I mean, we are not going to do that. And there's a couple reasons why. First, I think that turkey deserves its day, and that we should cherish that moment and eat it all day long and give it the respect that it's due. And two, I hate to decorate. I mean, I just despise pulling out the Christmas tree and hanging the ornaments. And if the kids want to do it, that's fine with me. But um, you know, Steve, I don't know what it is. I like the tree and I like the lights and I love Christmas time, but it's just like so much work. But I think maybe too, I know that in just a few weeks it's all going to be over, and then you've got to pack it all back up and you got to carry it all back outside. And so I'm just kind of a Scrooge when it comes to that. But um, I do like the season, the ability. The weather starts to change just a little bit, and it does put you kind of in the Christmas spirit or the Christmas mood. And I think everybody loves Christmas and loves the just the time that goes along that holiday season. This time of year, every year, I have a tradition of my own. I get up in the morning and I fix myself a cup of hot tea. Now, I know that makes me a girl in some of your books. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, do you drink like Earl Grey type stuff, or flavored tea? At times. At times I do. But for some reason, it just kind of puts me in the mood. So for some of you, maybe it's not tea. Maybe it's like hot chocolate with marshmallows or something like that, that you think this is what gets me in the Christmas season. But for me, it's tea. Can you remember your first Christmas? Like when you were a little bitty kid, like the first time that you really remember, not when you just opened up the boxes just to see the boxes, but when you first got something that you really, really wanted. You remember that? You remember the time that was the best Christmas that you ever had, whether it be a kid or maybe it was your first Christmas with your child, or maybe it was the first Christmas with your spouse. I remember the first Christmas that I had with Christy. I was the man. I mean, I'm just telling you right now. Blake Shelton on The Voice, he does this, because you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, y'all were looking at me like, you don't know what I'm talking about. And I was like, he does this because he says he's the man. So I was that guy. And I remember going and I did the 12 days of Christmas. So 12 days before Christmas, I started buying gifts and leaving those gifts for her every day to open. That's when I was a real romantic guy. And I'm not that any longer, really. So she just gets one Christmas gift on Christmas. But for you that are just newly married, it's a really good idea. You should try to pull that off. But Christmas is a wonderful time that we're able to show our love and to show that we care for each other. And for most of it, it's probably is the most wonderful time of the year. Can you imagine the very first Christmas? I'm not talking about the very first your Christmas. I'm talking about the very first Christmas. Maybe even if you could imagine with me for a few minutes this morning that very first Christmas from the perspective of the innkeeper that was there in Bethlehem. The story kind of goes like this. We know that Joseph and Mary both knew that something special was going to take place in their life. It was a little sticky situation because Mary obviously was with child, and Joseph and Mary were not married. They were engaged to be married. They were going to be together. But the Lord had told them both that Mary was with child and he was going to be the Messiah, the Christ child. And so Caesar Augustus says that there'll be a census taken at this time, and they travel 85 miles to Bethlehem so that they can register into that census. And you know that when they get there, that the town is just, it's like Black Friday, you know? Everybody is moving, everybody's coming and going, because everybody is coming from all of these different cities back to where they first started so that they could sign up, so that they could be there at that time. So when they get to the place, they knock on the door of the innkeeper. And the innkeeper comes and he says, "I'm sorry, but I don't really have a place for you. There's no room in the inn, is what I have to tell you." And she says, "You don't understand. We've been traveling miles. We've been traveling for many days. And I really just need a room, if you don't mind." And he says, "I would love to do something for you, but I don't have any other spots for you." And it might have been at that time when the innkeeper's wife took her elbow and she nudged him in the side and said, "You've got to do something for this couple." They were young. The wife noticed, the innkeeper didn't, that she was pregnant. And this wife wasn't going to let his husband tell these two that they had to go somewhere else. "We're going to try to make some type of provision for you." And so he said, "Well, the only thing that I have for you, the only thing that I could even remotely provide for you is this small place in the barn." Now I want you to picture, because what that would have been is just a hole in the side of a rock, a cold place, a place where if storms came, the animals could get into, and there would be a little bit of shelter. Not a great place to be, and especially not an environment that you would want to have a child. And so Joseph just immediately said, "That's the only choice we have. We're fine with that. If you'll show us to that place, then we'll take it." And I think maybe the innkeeper looked at his wife, and the wife looked at the innkeeper, and he was like, "Okay, let's go. Let's do it." And so anyway, they take him to that place, and you know what happens during that time. That baby is born in that place. And I don't think the innkeeper knew at that moment, at that time, what special thing was going on. I mean, his wife had encouraged him to find a room because she was pregnant. But he didn't necessarily know that it was the Christ child. He didn't really know that the child that was born in his barn was going to be the one to come to take everybody's sins away forever. Forever. So what's so special about this Christ child? What's so special about this birth taking place? Because without him being born on that very first Christmas day, you and I both know that our lives would be changed forever. We would not have the opportunities that we have now to be able to communicate with Christ and share him with others. I think when the innkeeper found out, do you realize who's in your barn? Do you realize who just gave birth and is in your barn? I don't know, just a pregnant woman and this guy named Joe. No, we've been traveling. We've seen this star, and it's been right above your barn. And we were told by angels of God that he's the Christ child. In my barn? You're telling me that the Savior of the world is in my barn? Yeah, and we've come here to see him. Now, I don't know about you, but I would be recapping in my mind what I had told these people before, when they got here. Hello? We were looking for a place to stay. And I told them I didn't have room for them. I told them, you'll have to go someplace else because there's nothing here for you. And then I find out that he's the Christ? Oh, no. If it wasn't for my wife nudging me on the side like normally happens with us guys, giving us a little bit of sense at times, I would have made them move on down and go to the next motel and the next motel and the next motel until they could find something else. But I wasn't going to help them until somebody encouraged me to do so. And then it was only then that I opened up a place like my barn to let him be given life and to come into this earth. My very first encounter with Christ. And the innkeeper says, no, I don't have room for you. The very, very first time that he ever encountered him, and he told Christ, no, I don't have room for you. I started thinking about in the Bible how many times over and over and over people told Christ that they didn't have a place for him in their life. Luke chapter 15, story of a man that has everything in his life, and he comes to Christ and he says, what must I do? What do I need to do in my life so that I can inherit eternity? Pretty simple, as Christ begins to explain to him, just keep my commandments. Basically, just do exactly what I've said to do. That's all it's simple as that. We make the gospel very, very difficult and very hard, and we struggle with it quite often, don't we? But Christ just says, if you'll just follow my commandments. And he starts to say, don't murder anybody, don't lie, don't just do what I tell you to do. And the guy says, I've done all of those things, but what else must I do? And Christ tells him, if you want to be perfect, if you really want to serve me, you'll take everything that you have, you'll sell those possessions, and you'll give them to the poor. Now, I think what this was a big, big test, because he knew how much this man had a love for his possessions and how much that he had a love for money and the things in his life. And was he willing to take the extra step and say, these aren't important to me as much as you are, and I'm gonna serve you. So sell your riches and then just come follow me. If you read in that chapter, it says that rich man leaves sad because he was unable to do what the Lord had asked him to do. He said, I want you to sell everything that you have. I want you to give it all over to me, and I want you to follow me. Can you do that? And his response to him, obviously by his actions, were no. I obviously don't have a place for you in my life if I've got to do that, because these things mean so very, very much to me. So where are some areas in our lives that we really tell him, no, you can't touch these areas. You don't understand, God. These areas are off limits for you because they're uncomfortable for me. They're off limits for you because it takes change for you to go in there, and then you require things of me, and I don't want you in those areas of my life. There is no room in this area for you, God, because it gets very uncomfortable for me when I find you messing around in the stuff that I'm involved in. The book of Matthew, there's a story about a father, 2 sons. The son comes to the father. He says, I would like to have my part of the money, Dad. I think like any good dad, he would say, are you sure that's what you want right now? Are you sure that, because if you just wait just a little bit, things will continue to increase. There'll be more for you in the future than there is even right now. So if you just wait, no, I want it. I want it now. So they give that over to him, that son. Everything that he deserves, everything he's going to get, his total inheritance. Story goes, he goes out, spends it all. There's a famine in the land. The Great Recession. Maybe something like we're going through right now in America. I don't know. And he loses everything. And he finds himself at the very bottom of the barrel with everything gone. See, he didn't really have a place, he felt like, with his father. And so when his father asks him to stay, or when his father encourages him to stay, or there's protection here, you've got to understand that we have plenty. Why would you want to leave here? But the son decides that he's going to go away, and that he's going to figure it out on his own, and that he's going to do what he needs to do because he thinks it might be better. And he finds out over a period of time that really being with his father is much, much better than anything else outside of that. When he thinks that there's really no place there for him, and he wants to leave, and he thinks it'd be better for him to go, in reality, it was the best place at the best time. You couldn't have got any better than that. And so he comes to this conclusion while he is at the bottom of the barrel, maybe I can go back. And even if he won't restore me to the position that I was, my father's servants, the lowest of the low in his home, eats better than I do. And if I could just go back and be a part of that, that'd be enough for me. I love this parable because it says when his father seen him from afar. I don't know how far that was, but when his father could see him, it said that his father ran to him. His father ran to him and embraced him. Now, no matter how many times we tell God, I don't have a place for you, God, in my life. No matter how many times we choose to exclude him in the things that we're doing and participating in things that we shouldn't, when he sees opportunities in our life, the Father runs to us. He doesn't just say, I wish you'd really straighten up. I wish you would do some things differently. I wish you would prioritize in a different manner. I wish your attitude wasn't that. I wish that there was some... All of that might be the case, but he doesn't, when we come back to him, he doesn't throw all that out before us and say, I hope you feel guilty now. That's how we feel, though, isn't it? We feel, I can't come back to him. I can't run to him and restore a relationship like I've had in the past or like I've seen others have. Because when I get to that place where I can see the Father and the Father can see me, I can remember so many times before where I said, I don't have a place for you. I don't want you to be a part of my life. And there's something about guilt that makes us do crazy things. Because the son could have sat with the pigs for a long, long, long time and died. Or he had to decide, maybe there is a place for you in my life. And no matter where you decide that is, that's where I want to be. And so he goes back to the Father, and that relationship is restored completely. It's not that you're one of my servants now. It's not that he said, go get a ring and put it on his finger. Wrap a robe around his shoulders. Bring him in because we're going to celebrate because my son is home. I don't know how many of you in the room have a child. But if you do have one, or maybe you've been there at the birth of a child, you know how amazing it is when that child comes into the world. And you know how amazing it is when you get to see fingers begin to grow and legs begin to grow and they begin to walk and read and they go to school for the very first time and you get to watch all of that take place and how amazing it is. But to lose all of that and for that to all be gone, when the child decides to come back home, you know how it would feel as a parent or even as a friend of a parent when that child comes back to that place, you're not going to say, man, you really messed it up. You really messed it up this time, didn't you? You would be the same way that the Father is. Come on back. It's a good place to be. I didn't change your room at all. It's the same way it was when you left. And I knew you had to go. I knew that you felt like there was no place for us in your life at the time. But if you feel like there is now, then I'll just accept you just the way that you are. If you'll just come back home. I really felt like today that maybe somebody in this room at times tried to handle things all on their own. Just tried to figure it out completely by yourself. And at times you just say, you know, there's not a lot of room for you, God, right here. I'll visit at times. I'll talk to you in moments of need. But when it really, really gets down to it, and I just don't have time for you. And I just hope today, I don't know who you are, but I just want to invite you to come back home. Your life is whatever you're going through, I don't know. There's family here that wants to embrace you. Not one time in this world would I ever start saying, you know, you did this and you did that, and I can't believe. Never. Not one time. I don't, and I know that God doesn't care where you've been or what you've done. Nothing surprises him. Nothing. And he still desires for us to serve him. So in a moment, I want you to think about it now, because in a moment I'm going to give you an opportunity for you just to turn everything over to him. And like the song that Chris was singing a while ago, just surrender everything. And just say, I'm coming back. I'm going to restore everything. Maybe you have a relationship with him, but you're kind of like the innkeeper. Sometimes you just don't realize what you're dealing with. And when he knocks on the door of your heart, sometimes you just think, I just don't have time for this. I want you to listen. So to get out of it, we just lie a little bit. To make it okay, we just twist it to our advantage. To make it all right, we just change the figures. To smooth it to where it's just okay, we just keep it from those people that need to know. He's saying to you today, I need a place to stay. And if you'll open up your heart just a little bit, it'll be enough. You say, God, it is nasty in here. I have so much stuff and baggage and all this stuff. He was born in a barn. He's been there before. And it's okay with him. He wouldn't have it any other way. He doesn't expect you to be perfect. He doesn't expect you to, even if you said, I have been serving him, everybody thinks that I've been serving him. And they don't know that really in my life I struggle so much. He's okay with it. It's fine. Not a problem. His whole point for this morning is so that he is able to be able to walk through the doors of your heart, to capture, to secure a place inside of your life for him and him only. So that Christmas is not just a time of gifts and lights, but it's also a time of happiness and a time of peace and a time where we're able to share what he has given to us to others. So when he knocks on your door today, what do you say? I get up every morning. Every morning just because of the weather. And I make hot tea because it makes me feel good. It makes me warm inside. I don't know, it just seems like it helps the day go better. And I routinely do it over and over and over again. It's just something about getting that hot beverage inside, and it just changes things for me. It warms me up. Would you let God this morning routinely come inside, make a place, just change things, change the atmosphere of your family, change the attitude of your life, change. Let's do that together today.